They were the most feared warriors on Earth. For nearly 700 years, the samurai ruled Japan with iron discipline, brutal skill, and an obsession with honor so extreme. Some chose death over shame. They carried razor-sharp katanas forged by masters who believed the soul of the warrior lived inside the blade. And then, almost overnight, they vanished. Not defeated by a stronger army, not wiped out by invasion, but erased by their own emperor. What really happened to the samurai is far stranger than most people realize, because the end of the samurai wasn't just the fall of warriors. It was the death of an entire way of thinking. And the final battle that destroyed them looked more like the beginning of the modern world than the end of the medieval one. In 1853, something appeared on the horizon of Japan that terrified the country. More than any army in history, 4 black ships, smoke poured from their engines, cannons lined their sides, and the Americans commanding them carried a message that changed Japan forever. Open your country or be destroyed. For over 200 years, Japan had isolated itself from the outside world. No foreign influence, no foreign trade, no outsiders. And during that isolation, the samurai became untouchable. They weren't just soldiers. They were the elite class of society. They collected taxes, ruled cities, served powerful lords called daimyo, and lived by Bushido, a strict code demanding loyalty, discipline and honor above life itself. A samurai could legally kill a peasant for disrespect. Some trained from childhood to master sword fighting so perfectly that one strike could cut a man in half. But beneath the surface, the samurai world was already rotting. Many samurai had never fought a real battle. Some had become bureaucrats, poets, or officials living off government stipends. Others were drowning in debt. Then the West arrived with steam engines, rifles, and industrial warfare. And suddenly swords looked ancient. The Americans knew Japan could not resist modern weapons. China had already been humiliated by Western powers. Japan's leaders watched carefully and understood a terrifying truth. If they stayed the same, Japan would be conquered. So the country made a shocking decision. Instead of resisting modernization, they would transform faster than anyone imagined. This became known as the Meiji Restoration, and it changed Japan with ruthless speed. The emperor was restored to power. Feudal lords lost control. Factories exploded across the country. Railroads appeared. Western clothes replaced traditional robes. Even hairstyles changed. But the biggest target of all was the samurai. In 1876, the government passed a law that sounded impossible. Samurai were forbidden from carrying swords in public. Imagine telling medieval knights their swords were illegal. Imagine telling Roman gladiators they could never fight again.
For the samurai, this wasn't just humiliation. It was the destruction of their identity. Many lost their salaries, their status disappeared, and peasants they once ruled suddenly became equals under the law. Some adapted, others became businessmen, officers, politicians, but thousands were furious, and one man would become the symbol of their rage. Saigo Takamori. Today, many Japanese people call him the last samurai. Ironically, he helped create the modern Japan that destroyed his own class. Saigo was a legendary samurai leader who supported the emperor during the revolution. He helped overthrow the old shogunate. He helped build the new government. But when he saw Japan becoming too westernized, he turned against it. And then came one of the strangest moments in history. Some angry samurai actually wanted Japan to invade Korea, hoping war would restore the warrior spirit and give samurai a purpose again. The government refused. Saigo resigned, and thousands of former samurai followed him. By 1877, rebellion exploded. The Satsuma Rebellion. Around 40,000 samurai rose against the imperial government in what would become the final samurai war. But here's the twist most movies never show you. The samurai were not charging into battle with only swords. Many carried guns. They used cannons, rifles, modern tactics, because the samurai themselves understood the world had changed. The problem was, the imperial army had changed faster. The new Japanese military was built on mass conscription. Ordinary farmers became soldiers. They were trained with modern weapons and Western military strategy. For centuries, samurai believed commoners could never equal them in battle. Now peasant soldiers with rifles were killing elite warriors by the thousands. And the final battle became a massacre. At Shiroyama, Saigo Takamori and the last surviving samurai made their final stand against overwhelming imperial forces. They were surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned. Government troops fired non-stop artillery into the mountain. By the final morning, the samurai had almost no ammunition left. Some accounts say they charged anyway with swords drawn in a desperate final attack. Others say Saigo was badly wounded and committed seppuku, ritual suicide before the end. Either way, the result was the same. The samurai era died in blood. But here's the part most people never hear about. The government that destroyed the samurai later turned their image into a national myth. Japan began romanticizing them. Movies portrayed them as noble heroes. Bushido values were revived and reshaped. Even the military of Imperial Japan later used samurai ideals to inspire soldiers during World War II. In a strange way, the samurai never truly disappeared. Their spirit was recycled into modern nationalism. And there's another hidden irony. The samurai were not always the honorable warriors Hollywood shows you. Some were ruthless killers, some burned villages, some executed civilians. During certain periods, samurai tested new blades on prisoners and corpses. The truth is more complicated than legend. They were human, capable of greatness and brutality at the same time. But that's what makes their ending so fascinating. The samurai didn't lose because they were weak. They lost because the world changed faster than tradition could survive. For hundreds of years, honor, swordsmanship, and loyalty defined power. Then industry arrived, machines arrived, modern warfare arrived, and suddenly, centuries of tradition became obsolete almost overnight. That may be the most terrifying lesson in history, because it means no system lasts forever. No elite remains untouchable. No culture is guaranteed survival. And no matter how powerful a civilization seems, the future can erase it in a single generation. The samurai believed their way of life would endure forever. Instead, they lived long enough to watch it disappear. And maybe that's why their story still haunts the world today. Because deep down, it isn't just about Japan. It's about what happens when the modern world arrives and demands that the past die.